Hi guys, welcome to our English talk show. Today we are very honored to have invited a famous French director, a writer, to be on our show. Yeah. Hi, so welcome to China. Welcome to our talk show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Could you first please introduce yourself a bit more to your audience?
Of course. Well, my name is Benoit Lelievre. I'm French, as you mentioned before. I'm a film director. I'm a screenplay writer. I'm also a former ballet dancer from the National Ballet of the Opéra de Paris. I danced for the Mariinsky Theater in St. Petersburg in Russia. That was a previous life when I was pretty much younger.
Wow, how talented you are.
Yeah, well, it was an interesting things to do. I performed in over 3,000 shows in 27 countries, and then I got retired because when you love dance, there is a moment you have to stop to dance.
I see, yeah. So how did you find the connection between the dancing and the film directing?
It's a good question. Many people are asking me, how can you go from dancing to directing? And to me, it's the same job.
The same job? Why?
I'm telling stories to people. It's only the media which is different. So I'm telling stories to people. I created my first theater company when I was 20. So I staged as well about 10 theater plays, musicals, 2 opera at the Palais Garnier in Paris, the Paris Opera House. And I mainly do the same thing. I'm telling story to people. I'm just picking the best way possible to tell each kind of stories.
I see. What kind of stories are you particularly fond of usually?
I'm very into art house movies, drama.
Art house movies.
Usually about stories of people being very far away of their home and mainly on the other side of the world, because this is what I did during all my life. And trying to find themselves. The stories about identity mainly, and those characters need to go on the other side of the world to realize, to understand that what they're looking for is at the corner of their street.
Now you're in China. You're far away from your home.
Once again, well, China is a little bit different. It's almost like home, because I've been here so many times now. And
like a home away from home.
Exactly. Well, I spend my life away, so to me, my home is where I put my baggage. And China is a good place to put these baggages. So
I see. How do you like China here?
I don't like it much. The food is lovely. I love Chinese food, and most of the time, because I spend my life in big cities like New York, like Los Angeles, Paris too, even if Paris is smaller and a little bit different than basically the rest of the world. But in China, I was expecting the people from the big city to be very stressful and just
fast-paced.
Exactly. But no, anytime I go somewhere, the people are just looking at me, talking to me. They're very nice. Big city people are not nice. There's something wrong in China. Stop being nice. You won't be taken seriously by the other people of the other big city. So far it has been an amazing, let's say, adventures, because I've been very well received in China all the time.
We welcome people like you.
I appreciate it.
You brought us. I know you brought us really good things here, right? And can you tell us what brings you here this time in China?
Of course. Well, I've been in China many times because I shot films. I've been invited by the Chinese Minister of Culture to give masterclass and lecture at the China Film Group. I've did many things actually. I was also invited by the Shanghai Film Festival, where my previous film was in selection 3 years ago. And anytime I'm coming to China, it's for a different reason, and this time it's to talk about something that is very important to me. It's about a film festival that I'm co-organizing. I'm actually the artistic director of it, and it takes place in Paris, but it's about Chinese movies. Because as a film director doing art film, I see how it is a struggle here in China for the Chinese artists, because there's amazingly good film director, filmmakers in China, but they may not have all the all the platforms they need to show their talents, and creating such a platform for them in Paris seems to be the best way to allow them to express themselves and to give maybe to obtain more opportunity to show their works.
I see the Chinese art movies, so you can provide a good platform there in Paris, right?
Yeah, well, Paris is the city where the first film has been screened in the history of cinema. So the brother Lumière, when the people arguably invented cinema did their first screening. It was in Paris in 1896, so quite a long time ago.
Yeah, more than 100 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And so Paris is a very connected city when it's about cinema. Everybody loves cinemas in Paris. France in general is the country in Europe where you'll find the most screens, the most theater. There is 7,000 screens in France.
Wow, 7,000. Wow.
Yes, if you consider that there is only 29,000 screens in Europe, most of them are in France. And to give you an idea, there is only 800 movie theaters in UK.
Oh, wow.
So there's no comparison. We love films. We are a small country. There's only 65 million inhabitants in France, which is compared to China, a village.
Yeah, in Beijing alone we have more than 20 million.
Yes, almost the third of the French population in one city.
So it's quite attractive to the movie makers from China to film to show the movies, right? In France.
I will show their movies. I want to show their talents actually, because it's difficult for them. China is producing 800 movies a year.
China movie industry is blooming now.
Exactly, but way too fast, and not all the time on the right way to do it, because the Chinese industry wants to make money fast. That's mainly about money. When you're talking about movies, and in China, it's an industry. In France, movies is a culture.
There's a difference.
It's
industry versus culture.
Maybe let's say 5 or 6% of the Chinese production is art film. In France, it's 80%.
80%.
Wow,
that's majority.
It's unique in the world.
Yeah.
It's a unique case in the world. Because
do they all make money in that,
of course,
in that way?
Of course.
Because in China, I know Chinese directors. The reason that they have a pressure to make profit.
There is a business model for art film which is very efficient. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes in a conference.
Good.
I will explain that. But there is a real business model which is based on festival. When a movie is selected in a famous festival, in an international festival, even more if there is a reward, and then it will be easy for the movie to find an acquisition, a distributor.
Yes.
And the distributor will give you about 20 or 30% of the budget of the film. So if you find 3-4 distributors,
it covers your costs.
Yes, completely. Completely, and it may even give you more money than that if the movie is good enough and please the audience.
Yeah, that's really good news for the Chinese art movie makers to really find a way to finance them and make profits. Right?
Exactly. If they can make profit, if the producers can make profit, then they will be more attracted to produce art films, because commercial movies, like all the films we have, which are very the American way of doing films, like we have in China now, they're good. They're good for the box office. There's no such things as a good or a bad movie, by the way. A good movie for a producer is a movie who makes money. It's not about the content.
They have different criteria.
Yes, there's different criteria, totally. So, but a good movie, if you are considering a more sophisticated way to enjoy the pleasure that is the cinema, it's something that will tell you something, that will be meaningful. Just having robots exploding themselves and transforming with a lot of effects isn't telling much. It's entertaining you. It's not the same thing.
Exactly.
It's good.
I personally is a fan of art movies. Usually art movies can really express more meanings and cultures and the thinking better than the mainstream movies.
In the best situation, you should have the two kind of industries.
Yeah, to have the
you
diversity.
You need to have the diversity. You need to have the right to choose. Someday you can want to see an art film. The other day you may want to be entertained. I mean, I also go to see the blockbusters. I'm watching. I'm also watching a lot of Chinese movies and action movies as well. Detective D recently was absolutely gorgeous. But you need to have the choice. And presently now in China there isn't much choice for the Chinese film directors to do their art, to express themselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
So festivals like Cannes, like la Quinzaine des réalisateurs, the Directors Forthright, all those festivals, Toronto, Tribeca in New York, Sundance, they are allowing film directors to show their works, and they are very important.
Yeah, I see.
They're a necessity for the directors doing art films, for the producers, for the team to show their talent. And something like those kind of festivals were missing in Paris. And we are dedicating our festival only for the Chinese film, because this is the growing industry right now, and
You see the opportunity here in China.
Absolutely. It's not me seeing an opportunity in China. It's more me that wants to give an opportunity to the Chinese directors to be recognized
worldwide
as filmmakers.
Yeah.
And not only people doing commercials.
I see.
It's about art. Paris and France in general is mainly about art and culture, and it's a pretty big deal for us.
It must be quite difficult to win an award there, right? Or are there any maybe tips you can give to Chinese art film movie makers?
There isn't such thing as a tip, because each director has his own sensitivity. So, for example, the way to make films when you are targeting the commercial way is to be as much, how can I say that, generic as you can. You talk to nobody, because absolutely you talk to nobody. You don't talk about let's say religion or things like that, because it can be a niche situation. People may unlike it. And if you want to talk to the farmer of the Kentucky, the worker in Beijing, and the salesman in Paris, the same way, you need to talk to nobody. Actually, you just talk about values, universal values. It's easy to understand. You put a lot of action, you put effects, and it works, because everybody can recognize himself in such things.
You should target the wider audience.
Exactly, right? But talking to everybody like that means talking to nobodies.
Yes.
It has no meaning, no. And a film director that wants to be recognized in festivals like Cannes or in Paris needs to be specific. He needs to talk about what he knows. He's Chinese, he talks about China, he talks about his village, he talks about his father, his mother, he talks about what he knows, because when you talk about yourself, actually, everybody can recognize himself in that, because everybody have a mother, a daddy, a village, and so this is important. You talk about real things for real people, not just selling robots.
Exactly. So the audience can find the connection, right?
Exactly.
Find them related to the stories you tell through your films.
Yes, completely. And in China, there is from the young generation, the new generation of writers and film directors, there is a will to go in that direction, in that way. I have that recent example, but this summer in China there is a movie that has been a big hit. I just can't tell you the Chinese name because I'm bad with the Chinese name. It's the story about that guy who goes to India to take some medications against cancer. You see?
我不是药神. That's the Chinese
Absolutely. I mean, nobody in China was expecting that film to be a hit.
It's a huge hit.
It's a huge hit because it tells something true. And because it's a good story, it's a good movie, and this is what actually China needs today.
Exactly.
To be recognized in the world as a country of filmmakers, as a country of cinema. Because I'll be honest with you, in Europe, Even in America, but America is more like, it's not only America. In Europe, nobody knows, actually, nobody could give you the name of the new generation of film directors or even actors and actresses. If you ask someone in Paris to give the name of his favorite Chinese director, he will tell you, oh yes, Zhang Yimou, I've seen his movie in 1990s, they were lovely, they were great, and of course they were amazingly good. Then he did other things after that. But at the beginning, he was amazingly good. Chen Kaige, his films in the 90s were absolutely lovely. And but that's it. That's the only film directors that in Europe, people in the street will exactly. Yeah. We know Jia Zhangke because we co-produce his film in France with the CNC, because I'm working also for the CNC, the National Center for Cinema. So we know him. We help him to make his films. He needs the French money to do his films actually, and we loved his films. But it's a unique case. Yeah. We don't know anybody else. All we know. Some directors from Taiwan or Hong Kong. There are very small territories, but they are very active in art films. And directors like Hou Xiaoxian, Wong Kar-wai, they're worldwide renowned. They're winning in Cannes. They're winning everywhere. So this is where China has to go. I mean, continental China has to go now. To be accepted as a nation of movies, cinema.
Yeah. And we do have many young generations of filmmakers, directors.
No, we need to give them a chance. Yeah, we need to give them a chance. I just come from Xi'an, where I was a member of the jury of the Silk Road Cup International Film Support Program. So I read about 20 screenplays from young generation of screenwriters to help them, to give them advice, and to help them to maybe soon being able to produce their project, their films, their stories. And so there is a will of the new generation to go that way. Exactly. And the success of that film we talked earlier, the medications and that success proved that the audience in China is ready as well, because in the same time the big Chinese blockbusters of the summer was Asura and they just stay a weekend on theaters before getting pushed away.
Yeah. Because in the end the quality will keep the movies stays longer.
Because you need more than effects and money to make a good movie.
Exactly.
You need a story, you need a good story, and the people now are starting to be educated and starting to be eager of having something more adult in theater.
As an experienced director, as you usually, how do you find inspirations for the stories that you want to show through your movies?
That's a good question. The inspiration is quite large because it comes from my background and I did many things. So no, I just usually are very attracted because I did commercials. Ads for the television and theaters. I directed about 85 commercials.
Wow.
So that's quite
very
a lot.
Experienced.
So I don't mind about doing commercial stuff. We have to make a living. But when I'm talking about my own project, when I'm writing my own stuff, then I go into something that is more meaningful to me. So, for example, the last film I did was the story of, it was in Chinese. I shot it in Shanghai, and it's all in Chinese, in Mandarin, and it's the story of a young woman. She's about in her early 20s, and when she was 5 years old, she was adopted by a French family.
Oh, okay.
So she spent her whole life in Paris. She grew up in France in a French family with French school in French university, and she's basically and culturally completely French.
Yeah.
But she's finding an old photograph. On the back of the photo there is a name and an address in Shanghai, and with that only photograph she goes back to Shanghai trying to find her real mother. It's kind of the vision of a girl that should have been Chinese, who in fact is French, so she's kind of lost in her identity, going back to her birthplace, trying to find her real mother. That's is something that has a meaning to me.
Exactly. Yeah. The cross culture.
Exactly.
Are there.
Of course.
Can you tell us about the name of that film?
Well, the title of the film, the Chinese title, with my terrible accent, is "爱丽丝的镜子."
爱丽丝的镜子. Okay, so guys, I recommend you guys to check that out when it comes out.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, one more question.
Sure.
As a director, it's a very challenging thing when shooting a movie. Because there are many aspects you need to consider.
Yes.
Right? Can you tell us, in your opinion, which aspect is the most challenging and why?
The funniest part when you are doing a movie is actually to shoot it. It's not that stressful. It's exciting. You're on the set. There is the costume, the accessories, the actors, the technicians, the equipment. You're in the action. But it takes about 2 years to make a movie, and you barely spend 6 weeks on the set shooting it. So the rest of the time is the preparation, the writing that can take a lot of time, because for爱丽丝的镜子, I spent 3 years writing it. And, because I didn't know China well enough to write it correctly. I didn't felt confident enough to write characters that's supposed to be Chinese, so I had to come back here many times. It's actually my 7th times in China in the last 4 years.
Wow.
So and I spent about 3 weeks a month each time. So I meet people, I talk with them, I observe them, and now I've been able finally to end that story, to write it completely. And the Chinese who read it actually told me, yes, they're Chinese. Yeah, we believe it. So now it can take a lot of time, and this is actually the difficult part: being patient and being resilient.
Resilience, yeah.
Never give up.
Yeah. Go the distance.
Because everything at each step of the process can happen to have your project just not working out. So you have to be resilient, patient, to keep working on it, and when you are on set, finally, enjoy. You enjoy it. Believe me, it's just amazing. You are doing the film. Yes, there's the actors. You are doing it.
Yeah, you're
there is no. You can go back. You're on the set. You're doing the film. Finally, then there's a post-production.
Which takes much longer than 6 weeks.
Yeah, much more. But that's
patience
good.
Again, right?
Yes, but you are still in the action at least.
Yes.
So.
Very good advice. Yeah, resilient, patient, and most of all, enjoy what you do.
Absolutely, that's the way to do the good job, whatever the job is, by the way.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Thank you so much for taking the interview.
It was a pleasure.
Also sharing all those valuable things with us.
Yeah.
Well, looking forward to seeing you all and seeing more wonderful works from you.
I hope so. See you.
See you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you.